We're back in the LPL here between JDG and BLG after a convincing game one from JD, demonstrating a lot of strength in the solo lanes and a lot of strength at the late game macro play.
Yeah, definitely. JD Gaming, they're coming up once again with their Dumpling Brothers, just great performances in their solo lanes all across the board. And I really like that fake out that they use with the Galio for the mid lane and then going over to the LeBlanc for the mid lane on Yagao. That's something that I think we're going to see a lot more of in 9.2.
And I really hope we do, because we've been seeing this in other regions. You know, the LCK has been doing a lot of this with, you know, things like the support Jarvan, just crazy stuff like that. Because it adds so much. It allows you to bring in winning lanes where before you were baiting. It looked like you were baiting yourself into losing ones. And that's the kind of thing you need, especially in a matchup like this, where JDG, they know they have very strong solo laners. But so does BLG. So the way you do that, you get yourself an advantageous matchup, something where they're not expecting to have a disadvantage, and suddenly BLG have to spend the game scrambling to adjust for the draft that they didn't see coming. So I want to see more of that going forward. But for BLG, I felt like part of it was less the draft and less comp and more just execution.
Yeah, definitely. The idea for the draft I felt was very crystal clear. They basically got the two best solo laners in the meta right now in 9.2 in the Aatrox and the Akali. They took that first rotation. They had the strong pushing bot lane to tie together. And if this composition did scale up in an even footing towards the later phases of the game, it was definitely a 1-3-1 comp that they could execute very easily. It had a lot of team fight potential, like we saw them pull out. So it was a good composition. It was a good draft. I felt like it was just the dragon fight where it was very suspect, and ADD and Kuro did not necessarily have a lot of potential impact in their own lanes. And if we look at this dragon fight once more, I think the big problem here is that really BLG don't have an ability to lock down any target. And that's not the case for JD Gaming on the other side. In their own 4v4, they have so much gap closing potential. They have the Cataclysm. They got the triple man taunt to begin. And ADD, you can see right there, his teleport came in at a very, very weird time. His AD carry in Jinjiao was already dead, and then he decides to teleport into the fight. So there's a lot of mistakes in communication going on right there, and that was a 0-for-4 start for them.
Well, and it's so uncharacteristic for them as well. We were talking about it earlier in going into game that they're really known for that cross-map coordination. They have these great team fighting ability, and they're able to keep each other in check and provide a lot across the map. We saw demonstrations of it before the game. But then suddenly in this one fight, they looked like they'd forgotten all they knew about how to work together. And it was just kind of weird.
It was a bit weird, but I also think it might have to do with the champion picks. Akali and the... Akali, I think Kuro did select before, but Aatrox is new for ADD right now, so their teamfight composition did change quite a bit. We've seen mainly Kuro be kind of in the front lines. He's playing a lot of Lissandra, a lot of Galio, and just zoning out targets from the team. And the same thing for ADD as well. He's been known more of a tank player. He plays the Urgot, the Poppy, and the Kled. Those are the engaged champions that he does. So as the teamfight composition changes, I feel like their positioning in the teamfight was a little bit more suspect. They didn't take as good a care as they could of Jinjiao. And I actually feel like they will go back to a more tried and true strategy where the team is more revolved around the damage capabilities of Jinjiao, and the rest of the members are just trying to keep him alive and advance the battlefield.
Well, and especially that game, they didn't really get the opportunity to. You know, Kuro was set on the back foot for most of the game because of Yagao, who is going to be the MVP because of how well he was able to shut down Kuro in most of that laning phase.
Yeah, Yagao, he's just a monster when it comes to LeBlanc. There's a couple of champions that you should never give to Yagao, and once more he's able to carry his team through the laning phase into the team fights as well. I particularly like the Cataclysm into the double W combination from their massive AoE damage on 4 members of the enemy team. And you can look at that damage versus gold ratio. That's insane. 189%. Usually that number hovers around 110. That's considered good. 189% gold efficiency is 70% extra, which is insane.
Yeah. Much like an amateur metal guitarist, Yagao's game was all about the distortion. That's pretty good. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
I was really proud of it.
I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah, I'm glad you appreciated it, Clement, because I appreciated Yagao's play, and I kind of expected to be banned out against him, honestly, because it was. I don't think it's necessarily the pick, but the mental block Kuro might have after that absolute stomp he received in lane. I feel like it might be worth a ban.
It could be, but on the flip side, you also have to think about Kuro's champion pool, because JD Gaming did target him quite heavily in that draft. They took away his Lissandra, which is his most played and kind of his safest champion. And if you're talking about the Zoe, it's still not great against LeBlanc. So actually, after going through my points, I realized that you're 100% correct, and LeBlanc should definitely be banned, because that's actually. If you think about his champions in the matchups they have to go against, I suspect JD Gaming is going to continue to ban out the Lissandra, make sure he doesn't have a safe matchup to play, and that would, like you say, force the LeBlanc ban.
I'm finally right about something. This is a great day. I get to make a terrible pun and you have to suffer through it, and I'm right about something? Man, this is crazy.
No, it's normal. It's normal. You know, when I think in like a circular logic. Sometimes I throw out points that are actually against my own logic. So you're right. You're right. LeBlanc is definitely going to be a major point of contention in this game going forward.
I don't know if anything else from that game really deserved banning, though, because I felt like the rest of the game wasn't exactly compositional, because the Jarvan was good, yeah, but that was mostly just how Flawless played it. And the Galio, honestly, I felt like the only strength of it was the guaranteed engage, which that's a big strength, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you got Rakan, but not.
Yeah.
Cool. Sure.
It's definitely a weaker Rakan,
yeah,
for sure.
But the big thing was just the bait and switch.
Yeah.
I feel like in the draft. So that doesn't feel like it deserves a ban, but I'm not sure what else you'd ban, because you could just go for the same ones. You could still go for the Lucian, the Cassiopeia, the standard meta picks.
I think JD Gaming, they keep their style the same. They try to counterpick for their solo lanes, but for BLG, what I want to see them do is put more emphasis on Jinjiao and his bot lane. Honestly, Jinjiao was playing out of his mind the last game. It was very good decision-making all across the board. Great laning phase from him. That bait where he won the 2v2 bot lane was really surprising in terms of the damage calculations. So Jinjiao is definitely their shining point on the map, and also the traditional weakness for JD Gaming. So I want to see them invest more heavily into that lane, try to equalize the matchups in the other sides of the map, and just make sure that you're always outputting more damage from the back line and kind of shield for Jinjiao. I think that's a winning strategy that they're going to go for.
Maybe last game they could have gone instead of the Sivir for something like the Xayah, maybe, because Rakan wasn't banned, but also the changes were pretty significant, so the combo's harder to land. But I feel like if you give him the Xayah, he gets that strength of lane that he really wants to have. You really want to have damage in the early lane to threaten the Kai'Sa, because Lucian was banned out, so you can't take that. So I felt maybe if you go for the Xayah, granted you don't have Alistar or Thresh, it might still give him a little bit of that extra oomph. Do you think they might go for that this game, or is it just not worth it without the reliable engage of like Thresh Alistar?
I think the Xayah is actually fine in that matchup, especially against Kai'Sa. You still win out on the matchup and you still get the push. Probably not to the degree that Sivir does punish the lane. So I think they went for something that they're more comfortable with in terms of their game plan, which is getting the bot tower. That's always been their game plan. So maybe that's why, but I actually agree with you. I feel like Xayah would be a good pick in that situation. You just want more damage to come out of Jinjiao, and it's a pick that you can protect better. It's not something that a Cataclysm is going to force you to flash instantly.
Yeah, she has her own self-peel, which is so strong. And I think I want to see them bring back their first turret percentage, because they're down. They're down. I think
it's only one game.
14%. Okay. No, but they're down. They're down now. They have 1 out of 7 games where they didn't get first tower, which means they're down to a really scary only 86%. That's
good enough.
No, it's never good enough.
You can never bring it back to 100 though. That's the problem. So
yeah, you can bring it back to an A.
If it's like, okay, it's not 100%, you know, forget about it. I don't even talk about this.
I'm being an overbearing parent now. I'm just like, this is not good enough. You currently have a B.
Being a rational Asian parent where I tell you if it's not a 100%, then you forget about it.
You've already failed in my eyes. Get out of here.
But
JDG.
no LeBlanc.
No LeBlanc, but they get the Zoe instead.
I like this. I like this. We were talking about Kuro's top 2 champions would be the Zoe and the Lissandra. So they ban the Lissandra, take away the Zoe, and I don't think Kuro has the LeBlanc like Yagao does. So he's going to have a hard time finding a counter matchup against that.
And this strategy worked so well for them last game. You know, Yagao was able to shut down Kuro, and the team seemed to collapse around them. So happy with this choice from JDG. BLG wants to respond. they're not giving him an aggressive lane, but they're giving Jinjiao an 80 carry that they know he can perform with.
Okay, I like that decision like we were talking about. We just want a harder hitting 80 carry, play around the bot side. It's not traditionally what they go towards. I'm not sure which side of the map is going to be the strong side once the Kai'Sa is locked down, but it fits their player performances right now.
Okay, so you were going to say you don't think Kuro's got it.
I don't think so, but he's going to prove me wrong.
He wants to.
Okay, he's going to prove me wrong. He's saying, I can play both sides of the matchup, Yagao. You picked the wrong person for a fight.
I don't know. Yagao's pretty convincing on that one. I'm landing towards JDG. Ooh, Kalista Thresh.
Oh, damn.
That's a bot lane, Clement.
That's gonna end your life bot lane. That's one of the hardest bot lanes to play against. Level 3, there's nothing that beats that. The most all-in potential you could possibly find in a single bot lane packed up together. So JD Gaming, they're flipping the script. I was gonna say switch. Flipping the script on BLG. They're saying this time we're the strong bot side.
Well, BLG were able to respond with Alistar, which is very strong support, and the Kai'Sa, so it's like a decent bot lane, and especially once they get out of lane, I feel like they'll do a little bit better.
It's nowhere near versus Kalista Thresh.
No,
it's nowhere near. It's not even close.
Once they get out, maybe they have a chance.
Okay, once they get out.
Yeah. No, in lane, they're absolutely hosts.
Yeah, I'll take you on with that one, once they get out. I like this ban for JD Gaming again. Meteor style is very invade and control heavy, so you just want to take away that strong 1v1 power. It's going to be up to Meteor to figure out something that's strong and is still safe at the same time. It's always a very difficult task for him. He has to go in and wander alone most of the times.
This is actually an interesting draft for me because they both left top and jungle unambiguously as the two choices left. So now we're seeing what each team prioritizes not wanting to play against. And it looks like both of them just targeting out and pinching down on the jungle champion pool, except for that Akali pickup.
So they're just taking away that from ADD. BLG, I feel like it's a jungle pick here, and then top lane, they don't want to get countered. They don't want to face the Swain from Zoom, so probably safer to do this. The Kha'Zix fills kind of that same role where if you're on a 1v1 mission, then you should win out post 6, but that's not always the case before that. So I still see the Kha'Zix as quite a dangerous pick. It also doesn't have the early game influence that you would want when you're trying to protect a Kai'Sa lane. So this is a bit of a difficult 2v2 in the mid jungle to play for BLG.
Now the Skarner coming out from flawless now. See, okay, here's my thing with JDG. They keep baiting me. Like they hovered Shaco.
I love the Skarner.
And I was like, oh my god.
Do you remember the Skarner? It's the kidnap comp. He flashes in, he impales someone, and then he takes the lantern out. It's the kidnap composition.
Wait, you can do even better. All right. Because you have the Fate's Call,
Oh, yeah, you
too.
have the Fate's Call. Oh, my God. That's disgusting.
So you just throw him as the lantern's going, all right. All right, JDG. I dig it. They also pick up the Vladimir, so they've got a lot of team fighting there. And they give Zoom a powerful pickup. And it looks like BLG just want to respond. Oh!
Ooh. Give it to me. Come on, lock it in.
Give me the buff boy. We're just waiting at this point.
We are already seeing Amazing J go for it.
Okay.
All right. I like it. Sylas
Sylas
against AP champions, I feel, is typically better. You utilize the AP ratios you have yourself. You know, Sylas is one of those champions that if you get into a sustained fight against him, you almost never win out. He's just crazy with his W, the amount of health that he can get back in that sense. And I also want to think about the potential ultimates that he could use in this scenario. He could actually steal Kalista's Fate's Call and keep Jinjiao alive in this instance.
Yeah, you are able to buy the Black Spear when you're playing Sylas, so.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're able to bind.
Okay.
So that's kind of underrated and a little bit insane. So I don't know if that's what they're necessarily going to go for, because then suddenly you're forcing Jinjiao to still be in the front of the fight, because Sylas is never going to like back out. But the fact that they have that to work with, you know, alongside, I guess the other ult you'd want, maybe Impale and Hemoplague. You don't want the Zoe ult because I feel like it doesn't do a whole lot for you. The box, dubious usefulness unless you get really good positioning. So I suspect Hemoplague and Impale are the big two, but I'd be interested to see if he tries something fancy with the Fate's Call.
Yeah, I'm actually not. I'm not 100% sure if you can actually execute the Fate's Call.
We're gonna find out.
I think you can somehow. Chat will figure it out.
I feel like yeah. Someone will figure it out. But I think you can, and now this sort of flips the game on its head a little bit, because before JDG had this great idea of how they wanted their composition to work. They're like, okay, we'll kidnap one of them, get the kill, maybe have the Hemoplague for a little bit more burst and pick. But now suddenly all of those ultimates, all those combos can get flipped on their head.
Exactly, and there's actually a lot of protection combos on ultimates on the enemy team for Sylas to have his choice of the litter.
I feel like at the same time, BLG's composition doesn't have a whole lot of beefiness and engage, so they have to be careful about how they fight these.
Yeah, that's the case. I will say it's actually a pretty decent scenario for Sylas to be picked. I actually like Sylas a lot more in the mid lane, where he's just like a jungle hogger and you constantly go in on the enemy team. But for the top side, he's actually quite easy to kill in the early game. He doesn't have a lot of escapes. He only has one dash that he can go backward with. But against a Skarner and a Vladimir, he actually should be fine.
Oh man,
more than
already
fine.
scrapping. The grass proc coming in for ADD there, and now gonna see if BLG gonna be able to pull it out with this strange composition here in game 2, or if JDG are gonna take a quick 2-0.
Can already see the lines of battle being drawn. JD Gaming going for the invade early on, just packing up a little bit more cash into their own accounts. 30 gold apiece for Aspire.
Getting rid of the blast plan, forcing Kine to take the long way around, and now BLG even invading here early onto the red buff.
I will say, however, I do favor JD Gaming's split of the map. I don't think Vladimir is going to play particularly aggressive in the top side anyway, so it's probably the benefit for JD Gaming to strengthen their strong side of the map, which is definitely going to be the Kalista and Thresh combo.
Already they're going to start looking for a little bit of aggression there in the bottom lane, but a lot of damage taken there by Imp, so I don't know. He's going to have to be a little bit more careful as the trades go forward, but they do have so much burst at level 3.
Oh, they're perfectly willing to do these trades because BLG cannot step up. They know that the Skarner is somewhere around the corner, so there's no way that they do extended trades, and you can see Jinjiao, it's just tap and go, tap and go.
So they will be trading a little bit. It's going to be picked up by Metoer. Maybe he'll use this to segue into the blue buff. He knows that thus far Flawless has not shown up, so he could just continue pathing and they'll just trade jungles cross map.
Okay, so we are seeing the okay, so that's the Dark Spear binding. Oh,
Onto Kine.
So yes, ADD did start with the Dark Spear.
Yeah, apparently you can buy it without even having the ultimate yet, which is pretty neat actually.
Oh, interesting, interesting.
Sylas is cool, man.
Yeah, he's definitely a very fun champion. I actually really like him for his engage potential. If you think about his full combo, the E is 12,000 range. 1,200, I'm sorry. 1,200 range. You have a flash in between. You have a W that takes you 400 range as well. So your surprise engage potential is somewhere around like 2,000. So I feel like the best way for Sylas is you steal a tank's AP ultimate that typically has very good AP ratios and can engage for you, and then you're just a surprise engager. You just smash into a team fight and everyone's caught out by you. Imagine if you have like the Curse of the Sad Mummy. That's a 0.8 AP ratio.
Yeah.
And you get to switch that AP ratio with your own AP. And if you build damage on that, which is not typically what we see right now in competitive, but if you do build AP in that, it's such a massive buff to you.
Which is absolutely insane. And Zoom having a little bit of trouble keeping up in the lane despite the crazy sustain that Vladimir himself has. He's struggling against the Sylas.
Oh, Sylas against mages earlier on is so powerful. If you think about Sylas's early game rotations, he has an auto attack reset, he has an auto attack buff, he has an execute, and then he has a hard CC stun as well. So actually, I have seen a lot of just mid lane players, they just get full combo burst down by Sylas level 3 with an ignite. And they're just like, what happened? It's very easy to do something like that. His combos, he just has way too much skill damage and auto attack reset earlier on.
Flawless going to try and keep control over the Spires. He knows that that one's going to be taken there by Metoer. He has the red buff, so he might actually be able to take a 1v1. He's just sitting in the Spire like, all right, if we're going to scrap, we're doing it on my territory.
Yeah, nobody really wants to go in that deep here. Flawless is up a level.
Oh, Zoom. He's still struggling, man. This is painful to watch.
A really tough matchup here.
we'll get a little bit of reprieve now that ADD's backing, and it looks like Flawless lost the war of attrition there in his own jungle.
And we are going to see the AP side of Sylas coming out. Oh, this is interesting. Typically, we have seen the Frozen Iceborne Gauntlet and more of the armor side coming out from him, Spirit Visage, just things to make sure that he can survive the initial initiation into a fight, use his catch potential, and just stay in with his sustained damage. That's the type of build that we've seen Sylas go for. But he's a very versatile champion. You can play him as more of an AP bruiser as well. Basically build anything.
Well, but this sort of shoehorns BLG into a specific type of composition, because now they don't really have a beefy front line. They have the Alistar, sure, but without a secondary tank, all he can really do is engage.
I think both of these teams are much more engage focused. No one wants to be the second person to go into the fight. Great trade by ADD there.
Metoer forced away a little bit. Now the 1v1 in the mid lane. Ignite blown onto Kuro, and now Flawless might look for the re-engage. Predators then pops. Kine just gonna body block a little bit.
It's a really good play by Metoer so far. He's been hovering around the bot side very frequently, and as we can see that there's not a lot of advantages for JD Gaming in the bottom. That's where we expected a lot of early kills to potentially happen, with the vertical jungling, with Skarner and Thresh Kalista combinations right there. But so far BLG have been able to keep it relatively safe. Jinjiao is definitely having a good time farming up.
Now, Kuro back in the mid lane against Yagao. This time, he's having a much better time. He's even got a CS advantage. He's up by 10. And across the map, BLG this time are doing what we wanted them to do last time. They've got their solo lanes ahead in farm in both of them, so they have a little bit more potential to carry through that method if they want.
I like Kuro stepping up to the plate, you know, showcasing a bit more of his champion pool so far. And the biggest difference in this game is that both of the BLG side lanes, solo lanes, excuse me, actually got the counter matchup. They're able to play the way they want to. They have a bot lane carry as well. So BLG is showcasing that they can play on a different side of the map.
JDG, however, they got the advantage in the bot lane early game, but it's already started closing. Earlier on, there was something ridiculous, like a 15 CS lead, I think, for JDG, but now that they no longer have that insane kill pressure, now that BLG are getting to sustain up, getting to stay safe, suddenly JDG's bot lane isn't looking as dangerous.
And if you look at the levels, BLG actually has a level lead as well. Kaisa already hitting 6 before Imp. So I guess some of the early roams from JD Gaming, where they were trying to keep Flawless alive against Metoer, probably didn't pay off in terms of the experience.
Whoa!
Okay.
That paid off.
Counter matchup or not, Zoe still hits like a truck.
Yeah, if you ever hit that long-range paddle star like that, that's just half your health gone, dude. It's fine. BLG going to pick up the top lane scuttle. Oh, but Flawless doesn't like this. He's got the Predator. There's the Impale. Yagao, Sleepy Trouble Bubble. There goes the Q, and there goes Metoer for first blood.
Yep, nothing Metoer could really do right there, aside from flashing preemptively. He did get, I think he did actually get the camouflage off, but unfortunately Yagao still predicted his pathing, or I should say that he was just stunned in place anyway, so.
There's only so many places you can go with half a second to move.
Exactly, when you're getting slept on, so.
Zoom actually starting to recover his CS lead. I'm impressed of his ability to hold on. Granted, he's just been stuck under tower this whole time, but the fact that he's been almost keeping up in CS, pushed under tower as Vladimir, I'm really happy.
Yeah, as long as you can dodge out on the abduct, I don't think that ADD is going to have an easy time actually finishing off the kill. I want to talk a little bit more about Sylas. Played a couple games against him in the top side, and generally the counters that we're seeing in competitive are those big, beefy bruisers, stuff like the Renekton and the Darius, because they have ultimates that have combo pieces that Sylas can't steal. You can't steal bleed stacks, and you don't have rage bar to steal against the Dominus. So these champions can actually win out and sustain trades, and they don't have that AP ratio component to their ultimates either. So it's a bit harder for Sylas to really fight into those, and I think it really does impact the way that Sylas is drafted. Currently we see him as more of a early pick, flex pick to kind of confuse the opponents.
Uh-oh, that flay wasn't quite in time, but now a lot of pressure coming in. They are so afraid of Imp on this Kalista.
Yeah, they have to be. It's just so much pressure in the JD Gaming bot side, and I just want to finish out my point real fast right here. The basic idea is that the way Sylas is drafted is you throw him out as an early pick, or maybe a first pick. You see if the enemy tries to counter him, and if something really terrible comes up in terms of the top side, you just swap him out to another lane. He can go into the mid side as well, and that's kind of how we're seeing him be used.
Here comes the Predator gang. Oh, a brilliant Lantern. They're not able to get the Impale just yet. Jinjiao barely makes it out with Killer Instinct. Ignite's still ticking, but Kine will be the sacrificial bull, as it were, as Imp picks up his first kill of the game.
And I just asked myself, was there anything that BLG could have done to actually get out of that fight? I think the answer is no.
Like, I think they did literally the best they could.
Yeah, they really did. Like, Jinjiao dodged out on the hook. He got hit by everything else, but, you know, you can't do much about that. And even without a flash from Flawless, that kill lane is still working beautifully.
And now they should be able to pick up this Mountain Drake. A lot of pressure onto it as ADT just going to solo take the Scuttle Crab. Just a little bit of casual jungling here from the Sylas top.
Just trying to get something back for his team.
Yeah, gets a little bit of vision, gets a little bit of gold. It's good. But, you know, JDG surprisingly have a gold lead in this game, and that's mostly off the kills they've been able to accrue in the mid and bottom lanes. Now, picking up the Mountain Dragon on top of this, they're getting out of this a lot better than it looked for a while.
No matter for ADD, just wants to shove the wave in. Probably with the help of Kha'Zix here.
I think this might be when Zoom starts to get the better end of this matchup, I say, as he loses half his health.
Oh man, that Kingslayer.
I was thinking, Clement, that maybe now that ADD is out of mana, Zoom would have a better chance. But no, ADD is just like, I'll just pound on him anyways, and he'll have to lose a quarter of his health.
Yeah, I think for Sylas, the easiest way you outtrade someone is just to surprise someone with how much healing you actually get from the Kingslayer. Once you're below 40% health, it actually doubles the heal, which is just insane.
His shield as well scales incredibly well with AP, so once he gets to late game, it's
Oh,
scary.
great tap.
Chain's able to force the flash, but Kuro so low. Ignite's ticking.
Yagao still looking for that potential Q to throw.
Doesn't have flash, doesn't have a spare. Has a smite, but that's not going to do a whole lot.
Yeah, great reactions from Yagao flashing out of the chains right there and dealing damage back to Kuro. Doesn't get to force anything, but still impressive play and wastes a lot of Meteor's time and his ultimate.
Double summons from Yagao, though. So that's a lot blown. But when you're Zoe, you really don't need your own summoners to get kill pressure. You can find them. The game just turns into a beautiful, overpowered scavenger hunt if you get a redemption. And I respect that about her. You know, it really speaks to the childlike nature of the champion.
He's going in for a repeat on Kuro's side. Does still get hit by the bubble. Is he going to go down? Oh, man.
Just the auto. The more sparkles is
boy.
enough. There's the Impale into the tower. Double kill for Yagao. And he didn't even have to use a spell.
Yeah, Yagao, he just had so much time to get away from the chain. Like, it couldn't really land the stun soon enough, and Meteor couldn't follow up his damage. So Flawless, right there where he needed to be, gets a kill on Meteor, and once again, we're seeing Yagao get the better side of the matchup, even in a counter matchup.
13 minutes 40 on the clock as JDG steal away this blue buff again. And it's been interesting to watch, Clement, that so far we haven't seen a lot of pressure under the turret plating.
Well, that's already 2 turret platings down, and the bot side for BLG has to run for the hills. A lot of incoming members from JD Gaming. Can he dodge out?
Hook.
Well done. Is this a bait?
Oh, yeah, it is. There's the Killer Instinct, baiting him perfectly. LvMao securing the kill. Flawless should be able to get it.
Oh, the Master gets one back. It was a great bait in game 1, but it was a good return by LvMao.
It was basically a mirror, honestly.
Yeah.
It was just like a different support the support got eaten this time instead of the AD carry.
To be fair, I'm a little bit surprised that Jinjiao fell for that. A little bit surprised, just a little bit.
I'd imagine like immediately after that he was like, damn.
Like there was no vision. There was absolutely no vision, and I don't think his mental profile of LvMao must have something wrong.
Oh my god, Flawless is doing so much damage to Meteor. Oof. He's able to jump out, and Kine able to get the knockback.
The sacrificial cow.
Flawless might still go for it.
He still has his flash.
He goes wide. They don't want this fight unless they can get a few more members into it because ADD
Kuro
is
with the
here.
burst.
Team of Plate goes down. It's the stolen ultimate. Alistar misses onto ADD. They will pick up LvMao. But Yagao gets the return onto the back end, onto Meteor. Barrier popped by Yagao, keeps him safe. Sleepy Trouble Bubble.
He's still
Protobelt
going in.
gets him out of the way.
He has the red buff on. Both of these members have the red buff and the blue smite.
Flawless still has ultimate as well. Looks like for now the engage is going to be stopped. Flawless might look for pressure onto the Herald.
Yeah, very dicey situation for BLG. They actually trade 1-for-1 in a 3v4 situation. Ooh. That was pretty close. What? He still finds it?
That Trouble Bubble, the blind skill shot.
Bye-bye.
Kine, goodbye. Huh. So that's Zoe.
Yeah. If you don't mind me
5-0
saying,
if it were.
Zoe is Yagao's best champion, by far.
Yeah, it's looking that way.
Yeah.
5-0, 16 minutes into the game. Already has the Ludens, already has the Stork Boots, maxed out Dark Seal. Oh, no. Okay. Distortion saves him.
Yeah, I was just trying to fish for. Sorry, I didn't know the play was still continuing. I was about to say he's still trying to fish for a summoner right there. Huh. They'll spot out the Sylas as well.
Oh, Flawless. Meteor's like, no.
Yeah, this is great covering of Yagao, you know. They're just letting Yagao have a field day right here. This is a 4v3 fight. BLG did get the initial damage off and a great return kill from BLG. They do get LvMao on the back end of that, but probably not necessary for Meteor to jump in. The damage was already enough to kill LvMao right there. So a bit of a mistake on his part. He does pay with it with his life, and really you don't want to keep on feeding Zoe. That's quite a scary prospect.
I think it's past a scary prospect. I think it's a scary reality because at this point, JDG have established a 4K gold lead, 17 minutes in. They're up 6 kills, 2 dragons, 2 towers, soon to be a Rift Herald. I mean, out of nowhere, suddenly JDG just half the game.
Yeah, it's a 7-1 game so far, and it's a great opening gambit by JD Gaming. You know, Yagao really just threw the gauntlet down and said, hey, Kuro, if you have a counter, I would like to see it. He did have counter, but still didn't work out.
It was looking pretty good in the early stages, but I mean, once Yagao was able to find the angles with the Zoe to get basically anyone with the Trouble Bubble, suddenly things started going way wrong for Kuro and the rest of BLG. And now they're going to use the momentum they've established to push down onto this outer tower. They have the Rift Herald available, and they're just still looking for picks with Yagao.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to give this one up. They did try to do an early lane swap to get some potential turret damage on the top side. JD Game was able to sniff that one out. And if you look at the rotations, once more, the solo lanes do have the lanes pushed in. And they did know where all BLG members were on the map. So a very safe play coming in from JD Gaming. You overload the side that has the Kalista, and you know that the LeBlanc's going to be late. Actually, very solid macro play from JD Gaming in this series so far, and this is one of the areas of growth that I really wanted to see from JD Gaming.
Oh, that's an engage and a half right there. Jinjiao getting absolutely blown to smithereens. Imp got the lethal tempo, got the Ren still available. This is a very, very dead cow, skewered into a kebab. Where's the Ren? Come on, Imp. There it goes. Ooh. Oh, and the engage, meanwhile, on the bottom side, Zoom, barely alive, finally gets taken down.
Right, so BLG do get something back. It's 2v3 here, though.
That's not going to look good, Yagao.
Oh,
he misses. Oh, no, but Meteor's still in a lot of trouble. Flawless, able to get in. The Impale and the Red Smite, enough to get the kill, and now Kuro and ADD have to run away.
I like how BLG are running away from a 2v3. They're like, no, I don't want any of this. Please leave our jungle. We're going to open a route for you. Please go out this way. This is the exit. ADD still wants more, though.
Well, Yagao is flanked right now, so if they wanted the engage, this would be the time to take it.
This theoretically should be favorable for BLG. Remember 3v2 and the fact that they're 2 solo lanes against a jungler and a mid laner. So they do get a flash out of Flawless, which is nice.
That was just weird from JDG.
That's just how far ahead they were from JDG.
Yeah, right. But at the same time, it's like you didn't have to do half of that. At a certain point, once you see 2 or 3 people, you can just be like, okay, our mid laner, our very squishy Zoe, is stuck between an AP building pseudo assassin and an actual assassin. maybe we should back out. They do.
Nope.
They do get out. I mean, they're alive.
That's not the LPL way. I don't want to hear any of this.
You know what? You're right. That's not why I signed on. I just want murder.
Yeah, if I'm ahead, I'm pushing that 2v3 as far as it can go. That's the JD Gaming style. And I was complimenting them about the macro game, how they're making slow moves, but a couple kills later, I like my old JD Gaming.
Now, I may be crazy here, Clement. The psychiatrists still haven't decided, but I saw ADD and he had built a Spectre's Cal, and he swapped it out now for the Arm Guard, so I'm not sure if I'm just remembering that wrong or if he might be going for a tankier build than we first thought. Flawless has Predator active now.
Probably just needs, wants to get the Zanya to avoid Flawless's kidnap combo if it does come in. That's probably the only safe way to get out that situation.
Reptile going to be popped here in the top lane. Kuro the only one here to defend at the moment. Jinjiao and Kine will rotate up, but getting zoned out by Yagao and the Rift Herald as well. And suddenly, 21 minutes in, already pressuring onto the inhibitor.
All right.
Oh!
What?
Oh!
That
That's
was
a spicy beach ball.
Auto attack and the Hextech.
So close. Every time Yagao hits R, everyone needs to run.
He's fishing for a kidnap. You don't want to get Kine. He does have the unbreakable.
There's the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, followed by the hook. That's all the setup they need. Oh, but the Battlestar lands on Kine, disrupting the fight. Zoom trying to zone off Jinjiao. And now JDG have free access to the backline. Meteor not going to be able to get the kill. And suddenly the inhibitor's down. JDG have all 5 members remaining against just 3 of BLG.
Kuro
goes in. A lot of damage, but not enough. Zoom still alive. And they're just pushing for the Nexus Tower.
This is one of the fastest games that we've seen in the LPL so far. 22 minutes and already one Nexus Tower going down.
Uh-oh. That's Sleepy Trouble.
Is Jinjiao going to
There's
block?
the flash.
Nope.
This might be the game. Imp is going in for the engage onto Jinjiao. It's enough to force him onto the fountain. They might have the damage here. If they can get lethal tempo going once again, maybe they can take down the second Nexus Tower. There's the TP coming in from Zoom. This might just be the game. This might be the 23-minute victory. The 2-0 potentially coming in for JDG off an amazing game from Yagao. They need to win this fight, though. The engage, Kine gets 2. He might have been able to save the fight. Imp finally gets taken out. Yagao's doing the best he can to take out the remaining members of BLG.
Can they actually defend this?
The Nexus, they need to keep hitting it, but they're not able to, and JDG forced off a very unhealthy Nexus.
And ADD comes back with the passive and the AoE damage to force up JD Gaming. I have to say, JD Gaming were probably playing with their food a little bit too soon, dancing around the corners, trying to just get a couple more kills onto Zoe, but they do hand over a massive bounty over to BLG. The game is not over.
They needed like 3 more autos. That's it. That Nexus is so low. Unfortunately, though, no one was there to provide the auto attacks, and now Baron is available. Dragon as well. 1 inhibitor down. Both Nexus turrets down for BLG. And they're looking towards the Baron.
Are they actually going to get it? It's a 4v5 scenario. Yagao is
JDG
just
see
up.
this, though.
They don't have a teleport, though.
So back up. Predator's been popped.
This is a last-ditch effort. Great use of ADD. They're putting the box down just to zone everyone away.
Flawless trying to go in, but the box slows him quite significantly. Baron down to 2K.
Here comes
Jinjiao has to use the killer instinct. Baron's still alive, but BLG certainly isn't. They're losing everyone. The Baron goes down, but it doesn't matter. The ace for JDG, and this should be the victory.
And BLG, they just could not take the Baron fast enough. A great engage from Zoom over the wall. Hemoplague and instant burst damage onto everyone to basically finish it out. I'm not even sure JD Gaming are going to reach the Nexus in time before their fans finish it off. Yagao probably going to, you know,
There
go
it is.
for
There's
his,
the 50.
correct his mistake. Just start hitting the Nexus sooner.
You need the gold lead, man. You got to pad those stats.
I can't blame him. When you're having a game like that on Zoe, you do want to get a couple more kills and just practice with your accuracy.
I wanna have better ways to criticize BLG than what I have, which is literally just like, damn, dude, Yagao popped off.
Yeah, he did. Absolute monster of a Zoe player. We have to remember that this is the champion that Yagao made his name on. He was coming in week 2 of his rookie split, and he made history by hitting the highest damage share of the LPL in all the years of the LPL. He did it on Zoe with 57% of his damage, of the team's damage that game. And he's still continuing to be a terror on that champion. Throws a gauntlet down, says, hey, I've seen all the picks that you've shown so far, Kuro. Can you actually challenge me with a counter pick? I'm just going to first pick insta-lock the Zoe. What do you have?
Nothing, as it turns out. Has a LeBlanc that didn't really quite cut it. And it was really interesting to watch, especially because JDG had to absorb so much pressure in order for that to be a proper execution from them. Because yes, Yagao was very ahead, but Zoom was so pressured for most of that top side.
He was getting multiple turret platings for ADD. He did win that lane, have that lane pushed down most of the time, but I just felt like the 2v2 was a bit too hard to navigate for BLG. Kha'Zix doesn't really have that lead early, and then you're talking about LeBlanc that, you know, kind of has to snowball as an assassin as well. The bot lane was pushed in pretty early on as well, and I just feel like this is one of those games where Meteor's game plan of going into the enemy jungle and trying to secure vision and try to keep his solo lanes ahead or linked up did not really work.
I don't know if it's solely on him though, because I feel like the bottom lane for BLG didn't exactly defend against the lead very much early. Like, they were stuck under their tower for a lot of that early lane. Whereas their solo laners were doing a little bit better. I mean, Kuro was holding his own in the earlier stages of the game. ADD was absolutely crushing it. But then Meteor just couldn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, that's the problem about Kha'Zix and LeBlanc. If you're not... I feel like Kha'Zix after 6, no problem. You can go in with LeBlanc. It's such a strong kill combo, but there's a very long window where that just doesn't happen. And I think the turning point of the game was really when you saw the LeBlanc assassination get shut down. They tried to go for this kill onto Zoe's Yagao, where he had no summoners. It was a golden opportunity. And then Flawless just comes around the corner, drags Meteor back into the tower, and you see all of his dreams just die, like on top of his head, turn to ashes. And that was a very big turning point in the game. Multiple kills over to Zoe. I believe that was her third and fourth kill, or maybe second and third kill, but a massive snowball for the Zoe. And it never really felt like the LeBlanc was a suitable counter into Yagao.
And I think the big thing going forward for BLG, the problem I had with them wasn't necessarily... It wasn't like the draft. It wasn't necessarily the solo lanes. Yeah, game 1, they were looking a little bit weaker than usual, but I think the big problem is we haven't seen Meteor perform outside of, like, Camille.
True.
Because Camille is a very specific kind of champion. She does one thing very well. She's very good at level 2 ganks, a lot of engage potential. Hookshot wall dive has insane range, a lot of playmaking potential. She does a lot of damage in duels early. And in team fights, she's able to provide a ton for your team with just like 1 or 2 abilities. Just a good Hextech ultimatum. If you get off the perfect Hextech ultimatum, you win the team fight for your team. That's what Camille can provide. And on other picks, so far Meteor hasn't been able to show that same level of effect. And I'm worried for him, because going into future patches when Camille, you know, loses her stun on monsters and suddenly has more trouble clearing, is it even going to be a viable pick anymore? Yeah. What's Meteor going to do? Yeah, that's a really good question to ask, and we have to say before this series, Meteor actually had the 3rd highest GD of all junglers, sitting at 480 gold lead. So he was doing very well in the isolated parts of the game where he was going in and invading and linking up with Kuro to play this kind of a game where he tries to link both of the Korean solo laners up together. This game, however, we did see the downside of Meteor. We did see kind of his bad games, basically. And that's when he tries to go in, he gets caught out of river, his ganks don't really work, and you kind of see him slowly fade away from the game. And BLG's game plan, after they couldn't control that phase of the game, they didn't really find an early team fight where they wanted. So there's a lot of experimentation now from BLG. I actually like their drafts. I felt like it was a very strong direction in where they were going, but unfortunately for them, both sides, I would say there were very significant outplays coming in from JD Gaming. Game 1, it was a team fight where I don't think BLG should have taken anyway, and the second one was just when you gank mid and you lose 2 kills to a Yagao Zoe, the game's probably 50% over already. That's just kind of unfortunate, but these small mistakes against the top teams of the LPL, they will cost you the series. Yeah, Yagao absolutely decimated what was left of BLG after game 1, and that's why he's going to be the MVP for that game. Absolutely insane Zoe performance. Color me surprised, and this time around he actually has an even higher damage to gold efficiency ratio on 193%. So he's landing all of his skill shots, doing
absolutely massive damage, and this is the pick to watch out for the Dumpling brothers. They both have their signature picks. For Zoom, it's going to be the Swain, and for Yagao, it's going to be the Zoe. And this is something that you have to keep in mind. When a player is so good on a specific champion that he can ignore counters, that's when you run into a lot of problems with drafting. Like, you just don't know how to shut someone down, and if they pop off for a game, they could take that through the entire series. So JD Gaming, I love what they're doing. They're showcasing that their individual strengths are enough to carry them over any drafting obstacles.
I want to see them keep it going forward, though, because against harder opponents, I worry how well they'll do, because, you know, they got that win against IG, and now they've got the win against BLG, too. But we'll see how much they can keep it up. But we'll be back in a bit with our second series of the day, IG versus LGD. Stick around.